The council chamber of Zarthos 9 was massive and cold. The walls were built from black stone taken from dead planets. The ceiling was covered with glowing symbols that moved like living creatures. Every sound echoed for seconds, as if the room itself listened. This place was not for normal beings. It was the home of the Deathworld Council, a group made of the most dangerous and powerful alien species in the galaxy. Each member had survived worlds full of poison, storms, predators, and endless violence. They ruled with fear, strength, and ancient authority. Nothing scared them. At least, until today. Because today, something new walked their halls, something small, strange, and unexpected. A human. His name was Michael Carter. As the large doors opened, the council room went silent. Heavy footsteps echoed as Michael walked forward calmly, his eyes scanning the chamber. There was no fear in his steps. No hesitation. But the aliens watching him? Their eyes were wide. Their bodies tense. The whispers started quietly, then grew louder. That thing is a human. Small. Weak. Soft species. Why is it here? Who invited it? One alien with sharp metallic skin growled, his voice deep like thunder. Humans do not belong in this place. Another creature, tall with 3 glowing eyes, narrowed its gaze. They break easy. Bones like thin glass. This meeting is a waste of time. But the human kept walking. Michael wasn't muscular. He wasn't armored. He wasn't glowing with power or carrying weapons like others in the chamber. He looked ordinary. That made the aliens even more confused. Michael stopped at the center platform, a place where only warriors, kings, and beings of high danger stood. The council continued to stare. Most visitors trembled at this point. Some fainted. A few never survived. But Michael? He simply adjusted his jacket and smiled. A normal smile. A friendly smile. A terrifying smile. Because no one, in the history of Zarthos 9, had ever smiled here. The council leader, a giant-scaled creature named Zorlith, finally spoke. His voice shook the floor. Human. You stand before the Deathworld Council. Do you understand where you are? Michael nodded casually. Yeah. Meeting room. Very dramatic. Some aliens flinched at his relaxed tone. Speaking casually to the council was unheard of. Zorlith leaned forward, eyes glowing. You fear nothing, do you? Michael shrugged lightly. Not really. The room grew colder. Then, something unbelievable happened. Michael reached into his backpack. Every alien's body instantly tensed. Weapons powered up. Claws extended. Poison glands dripped. They expected a gun. A bomb. A weapon of destruction. But instead, Michael pulled out a lunchbox. A simple metal lunchbox with a small sticker of a smiling cat. Silence. Confusion. Shock. One alien whispered. Is that food? Another hissed. Why would he eat here? Is this a threat? In their worlds, eating was dangerous. On Deathworlds, you never ate calmly. You fought predators for food. You bled for every meal. Food was a battlefield. But Michael? He sat down on the platform and opened the lunchbox like it was a normal day on a normal planet. A soft click. A little steam. A mild smell of spices. Michael took a fork and started eating. Just like that. Casual. Relaxed. Peaceful. The entire council stared, horrified. A creature with tentacles covered its face. Is he insane? Eating in a council chamber? Another alien gagged. No fear, no caution, no awareness of danger. Michael looked up while chewing. Good food needs good timing. The room went still again. The council members exchanged looks. This was not behavior they understood. No shaking hands. No survival instincts. No scanning for threats. He was acting like this was a picnic. Then Michael reached into his lunchbox again. This time, he pulled out something worse, something glowing red and steaming. A pepper. Not just any pepper. The same pepper known across the galaxy as Dragon's Tear. A fruit so spicy and toxic that even smelling it caused pain for many species. The council reacted instantly. Voices rose. Claws scraped the ground. Some members took a step back. One screamed. Stop. That is a death-class food. No living creature eats that. Michael raised an eyebrow, confused. Really? It's just a pepper. Then, in front of the deadliest rulers in the galaxy, Michael took a bite. A big bite. He chewed. And he smiled. As his eyes watered slightly, he said, not spicy enough. The entire council froze in fear. One alien whispered in a trembling voice. Why is the human smiling while eating that? And in that moment, for the first time in their history, the Deathworld Council felt something new. The council chamber remained silent. Not a single alien moved. Every eye stared at the human who had just bitten a dragon's tear pepper, a pepper so deadly that even the strongest warrior species refused to touch it. Michael kept chewing slowly, wiping his mouth with a small napkin like he was in a normal cafe, not inside a hall where even kings feared to breathe too loudly. His calmness was unnatural. His smile was worse. The council members looked at each other, unsure if this was bravery or madness. Finally, a low voice spoke. It came from Dr. Valeth, the council's chief scientist, a tall alien with a translucent skull and glowing nerves visible beneath the skin. His species evolved on a world where everything could kill with just a touch, so they studied danger like an art. Valeth leaned forward, voice trembling. Human, do you understand what you just consumed? Michael looked up while chewing another bite. Yeah. Pepper. Spicy. Tastes great. The scientist blinked, confused. That pepper can melt flesh. It can dissolve bone. It is classified as a level 7 biohazard. Michael paused, then swallowed. He nodded slowly. Yeah, sounds about right. Some aliens gasped. Others backed away. One creature, a bulky reptile with 2 jaws, shook his head and whispered. Impossible, no creature should enjoy pain like that. But Michael was not done. He lifted another item from his lunchbox, a large container filled with noodles soaked in glowing red sauce. The steam rising from it burned the air, leaving thin sparks floating like fireflies. The council reeled in horror. One alien shouted. Stop. Even the smell is toxic. Another fell backward, clutching his chest. Michael looked confused again. Really? This is normal lunch on Earth. He took a bite. A big bite. The sauce sizzled on his tongue like lava. His eyes watered again, but instead of pain, there was excitement, almost joy. He whispered to himself. Oh yeah, now that's flavor. The council stared like they were watching a creature from legends, something mythical, unpredictable, and extremely dangerous. Zorlith, the council leader, slammed his claw against the platform. The ground shook. Explain yourself, human. Why do you eat poison like it is food? Michael blinked twice, surprised by the loud reaction. Well. Earth food is kinda crazy. He laughed gently. We have peppers, strong spices, weird fruits, dangerous animals, and sometimes the food fights back. Literally. Every alien froze. Valeth leaned forward urgently. What do you mean, the food fights back. Michael shrugged. Have you ever eaten a crab? Or a lobster? They look like armored aliens. You boil them alive. Several aliens retched. One creature fainted. Michael continued, completely casual. Then there are bees. To get honey, you steal from a hive full of insects that sting you. Very painful. Still worth it. The scientist trembled. You willingly fight creatures, for sugar. Michael nodded proudly. And to get milk, humans literally grab animals and squeeze them. A collective scream echoed around the chamber. The reptile warrior shouted. You steal food from other species and survive their attacks? Michael raised a thumb calmly. Yep. Zorlith stared at the human differently now, not as something weak, but something unpredictable. Something terrifying. Something that survives not because it is the strongest, but because it refuses to quit. Michael took another peaceful bite of his noodles. Between chews, he said softly. On Earth, we don't just survive danger. He lifted the glowing pepper again. We season our food with it. A chilling silence followed. For the first time in centuries, the Deathworld Council, rulers of fear, felt their instincts scream a warning. Do not challenge this creature. But the silence was broken by the sound of a chair scraping. An alien general stood tall, 6 arms, armored skin, burning eyes. He growled. Human. If you are truly as fearless as you appear, prove it. Michael looked up slowly. Prove what? The general pointed to the center of the chamber, where a metal table rose from the floor. On it sat a strange glowing fruit, black with cracks of neon green light. Every alien backed away. One whispered. No being has ever survived touching it. Another added. It belongs to the planet Nithrax, a place where everything kills instantly. The general spoke firmly. This is the Void Star fruit. Touch it, and we will know if humans are truly fearless. Michael stared at the fruit. The air around it rippled like heat. Even the metal table beneath it hissed as if burning. Michael stood up slowly. The council leaned forward, terrified yet unable to look away. Step by step, Michael walked toward the deadly fruit. No shaking. No hesitation. No fear. He reached out a hand. And as his fingers touched the glowing surface, the chamber lights flickered. Energy crackled. A shockwave pulsed through the room. Some aliens ducked. Others screamed. And then, Michael spoke softly. Ha! Feels warm. The room exploded with panic. The council, beings feared across galaxies, took a step back. Because now, they understood. This was not a weak creature. This was something else. Something far more dangerous. A species that looked harmless, but treated death like snack time. The chamber was no longer silent. It was terrified. The Deathworld Council, beings who commanded armies, destroyed planets, and survived impossible environments, now stared at Michael like he was a monster wearing a friendly smile. A monster that didn't know it was a monster. The glowing Void Star fruit still rested in Michael's hand. He turned it slowly, almost curious, almost bored, as if it were just a normal apple. Valith, the scientist, swallowed hard, his glowing veins flickering like lightning. Impossible, no species can withstand that fruit's energy. Not without shielding. Michael sniffed it thoughtfully. Smells tangy. Maybe sour. The alien general who had challenged him took a step back. The council leader, Zorlith, finally raised a claw. Human, before you take another bite of anything, we need answers. Michael blinked. Sure. What do you want to know? Zorlith leaned forward slowly, his expression somewhere between fear and fascination. Your species, your world, how did humans become like this? Michael shrugged, as if trying to explain something obvious. Earth was never gentle. Our world made us tough. The scientist's voice was shaky. Explain. Michael placed the Void Star fruit back on the table. The metal beneath it hissed and cracked. Then, he began. Earth wanted us dead from day one. His tone was calm, yet something in it made the chamber colder. First, there were storms, giant storms with winds strong enough to tear trees apart. Lightning that hit the ground so many times it looked like a light show. Then earthquakes shook the land. Volcanoes erupted. Fire, smoke, and ash everywhere. Several council members exchanged horrified looks. Michael continued. And animals? Yeah. Earth gave us predators too. Big ones. Fast ones. Ones with teeth designed to crush bone. He raised an eyebrow. And sometimes, the smaller animals were worse. Valeth leaned in. Worse? How? Michael laughed softly. Ever heard of mosquitoes? The council shook their heads. Tiny things. Fly in the air. Drink blood. Spread disease. Millions of humans died because of them. An alien gasped. A creature so small, killed your kind? Michael nodded. Yep. And then there were viruses, invisible killers. No claws. No teeth. Just sickness. His voice lowered, almost tired. Human history is full of suffering. Wars. Plagues. Hunger. Ice ages. Heat waves. But every time something tried to wipe us out. He smiled, that same impossible, casual smile. We adapted. A long silence followed. Humans, the unpredictable species. The reptile warrior spoke again, softer this time. But why do you smile while you eat pain? Why do you enjoy danger? Michael exhaled slowly. Because humans learned something important. If life hurts, you can still laugh. That sentence echoed in the chamber. It sounded harmless. But to the council, it was terrifying. Valeth typed rapidly on a floating console, scanning Michael's biology. His eyes widened. This is insane. Human nerves show damage tolerance far beyond calculated limits. Their pain response activates pleasure centers. Their adrenaline spikes improve judgment instead of clouding it. Another alien whispered. So humans, do not avoid danger. Michael chuckled. Most don't. Some run marathons. Some climb mountains. Some jump from planes for fun. And some. He raised the glowing pepper again. Like spicy food. The council stared in disbelief. The testing instinct. Zorlatha's eyes narrowed. You speak as if pain is experience. As if survival is entertainment. Michael nodded. On Earth, we test ourselves. We challenge limits. Some humans even seek fear, haunted places, dangerous animals, extreme weather. One alien nearly shouted. But why? Michael took another bite of his noodles. Calm. Casual. Deadly. Because comfort makes us slow. Fear makes us sharp. Risk makes us evolve. Valeth turned to the council, his voice trembling. This species does not survive death worlds. He pointed at Michael. This species creates them. A wave of cold dread rolled over the room. The shift. The general who once challenged Michael now lowered his head. For the first time since the council was formed. A visitor had reversed the balance of fear. Michael noticed the silence and looked around. Is everything okay? The council leader slowly stood. Not angry. Not offended. But careful, as if speaking to a sleeping predator. Human Michael Carter, your species is unlike any recorded life form. You endure pain. You adapt to danger. You treat lethal food as enjoyment. And you laugh in a place where even gods fear to stand. Michael scratched his head awkwardly. Thank you. Zorlatha's voice lowered, deep and serious. We must decide something important. Are humans a danger, or an ally? The chamber lights dimmed. A giant holographic screen activated, showing Earth. Small. Blue. Peaceful looking. But now, to the council. It was a sleeping giant. A storm waiting to wake. Valeth whispered. If humans can evolve under constant threat, what will they become when given technology? Power? Time? No one answered. Because everyone already knew. Humans would not become rulers. Not tyrants. Not monsters. No. They would become something far worse. The council chamber remained dim, lit only by floating symbols and the flickering glow of alien screens. The energy in the room felt heavy, like a storm waiting to break. Every alien leader sat frozen, processing what they had learned. Humans were not weak. They were survivors born from chaos. And chaos did not fear kings. Michael sat calmly at the central table, still chewing his food like nothing strange was happening. That casual behavior made everything more terrifying. The council leader, Zorlath, finally spoke, his voice low and firm. Human Michael Carter. Before we vote, we must know more. Michael looked up, wiping sauce from his face. Sure. Ask anything. Curiosity or fear? A new alien stepped forward, small, thin, and covered in shimmering feathers. Her name was Solari, and she was the council's archivist, keeper of history, truths, and ancient warnings. She studied Michael with sharp golden eyes. Human, when your world hurt you, why did your species not go extinct? Why did fear not break you? Michael leaned back in his chair and thought for a moment. I think fear did break us, but breaking made us stronger. Solari tilted her head. Explain. Michael breathed deeply, voice serious now, not joking, not relaxed. For the first time, there was weight in his tone. Humans learned pain early. We lost families to disease. We lost children to hunger. We lost homes to storms and wars. Sometimes, everything hurt. A faint sadness passed through his eyes. But every time we fell, someone stood back up. A silent pause. The alien scientist Valeth whispered. You evolved through suffering. Michael nodded. Yes. But more than that, we evolved through hope. The council shifted, confused. Hope. A concept rare in Deathworld culture. Michael continued. When storms destroyed villages, humans rebuilt them. When darkness came, we made fire. When predators hunted us, we became hunters. The reptile warrior clenched his jaw. So you turned fear into strength. Michael shrugged softly. Fear taught us caution. Pain taught us respect. But hope taught us to keep going. Solari's feathers lifted, a sign of emotional shock. Hope is a survival mechanism. Michael smiled faintly. Hope is the thing inside us that whispers. Not today. Not like this. Try again. The dangerous nature of hope. The word stayed in the air like a storm cloud. Valeth looked horrified. A species that feels hope during danger cannot be predicted. Zorlath nodded slowly, eyes narrowing. A species that refuses to give up is more dangerous than any weapon. Michael raised an eyebrow. Dangerous? We're not trying to scare anyone. Solari replied gently. Yet you do, without trying. Michael frowned, confused for the first time. Human emotion, a weapon nobody expected. Solari spoke in a calm voice that echoed like wine through old ruins. Most species break under fear. They stop thinking. They freeze. She pointed at Michael. But humans? Fear sharpens them. Pain focuses them. Loss pushes them. She stepped closer. And worst of all, when you are frightened, you protect each other. Michael nodded firmly. Yes. That's true. Some aliens looked shocked. One whispered. A species that fights for itself is dangerous. A species willing to die for each other is unstoppable. Michael did not deny it. A hidden file, the one the council feared to open. Valeth suddenly tapped on his holographic console. A classified file appeared. A file labeled Earth Event 147, Survival Audit, Denied. The screen displayed images, blurry and brutal. Humans running into burning buildings. Humans saving strangers from natural disasters. Soldiers carrying wounded teammates. Doctors operating during war. Firefighters walking into collapsing structures. The council watched in silent horror. Valeth spoke. We have studied every known intelligent species. When most face extreme danger, they run. He pointed at the images. Humans run toward danger. Michael looked down. His voice was quiet, almost emotional. Because if we don't help each other, who will? No one answered. Because no one in that room had ever heard such thinking. On death worlds, survival was individual. But humans survived together. The twist the council never expected. Zorlith finally sat back. Not as a king, but as a creature facing something he could not control. Human Michael Carter, your species is powerful not because your body is strong. He pointed at Michael's chest. But because your heart is. Michael blinked. Surprised. Maybe touched. Maybe confused. Zorlith continued, voice deeper, darker. A species that loves fiercely, fights fiercely. Solari added. A species that bonds becomes unstoppable. Valeth whispered the final conclusion. And a species that is not afraid to die, cannot be conquered. Michael set down his lunchbox. Slowly. Silently. The mood shifted. No longer curiosity. No longer confusion. Only one thing remained. Respect. And fear. The vote approaches. Zorlith raised his claws, signaling the decision process. The council will now decide. Are humans a threat to the galaxy? Or a hope for it? Lights dimmed. Seats shifted. The air hummed with tension. Michael watched quietly, no fear, no worry, just patience. Because humans were used to wading through storms. The final words before the vote echoed like thunder. The council chamber darkened until only a single circle of light remained, shining directly on Michael. Every alien watched silently. The air felt thick, almost alive, heavy with tension and uncertainty. The vote had not begun yet. Because the council had one final rule. Before judgment, the visitor must face a trial. No species had ever passed all three stages. Some survived one. None survived two. Most didn't survive at all. Michael waited patiently, unaware that history was unfolding around him. The announcement. Council leader Zorlith rose slowly, his scales glowing with authority. Human Michael Carter, before we decide your fate, we offer you a trial. Michael raised an eyebrow. A test? Sure. What kind? Zorlith did not smile. A test of fear. A test of mind. A test of heart. The chamber trembled as ancient machinery activated beneath the floor. Michael tucked away his lunchbox, cracked his neck, and stretched slightly, almost like someone preparing for a morning workout. That single gesture terrified half the room. Test 1, Fear. A hologram flared to life, showing a dark forest under a blood-red sky. Then the room changed. The hologram became reality. Michael now stood in the middle of it. The forest was silent. Too silent. The council watched through floating screens. Solari whispered. This environment was formed using his own memory patterns, meaning it adapts, reacts, attacks based on his fears. Valeth nodded. If the human fears anything, we will see it. Michael took a slow breath. Branches cracked behind him. A low growl echoed. Then another. And another. Shapes moved through the shadows, fast, silent, hunting. Michael didn't run. He didn't panic. Instead, he muttered. This looks like Australia. A few aliens blinked. They didn't know what Australia was. But judging from his tone, it wasn't good. The first creature lunged, a wolf-like beast with bone spikes and red eyes. Michael sidestepped and shoved it away with one hand. Not angry. Not nervous. Just annoyed. Another beast attacked. Then another. Michael ducked, dodged, and blocked each attack like someone avoiding playful dogs, not predators trying to kill him. The council stared, confused. Solari whispered. Why, is he not afraid? Valeth scanned Michael's brain activity. His voice shook. He is afraid, but instead of freezing, his mind becomes sharper. Faster. Stronger. Michael placed his foot on a rock and shouted into the forest. Hey! Stop jumping out like surprise homework. If you want to fight, fight prop. It was a demonstration. Michael moved like someone who had seen danger before, someone who understood fear not as an ending, but as fuel. Minutes later, the beast fell. The forest dissolved. Michael stood unharmed. Zorlith whispered in disbelief. Test 1, passed. Test 2, mind. The chamber shifted again. This time, Michael appeared floating in a void of stars, no ground, no direction, no sound. A voice echoed in his mind. Not one voice. Millions. Human. Face your confusion. Lose your sense. Lose reality. Most species went mad here within seconds. Michael took a deep breath. Okay, just like Monday morning. The void created illusions. A burning earth. Lost loved ones. Darkness. Doubt. Pain. Loneliness. Failure. His heartbeat slowed. His hands shook slightly. Solari whispered. Now we will see him break. But Michael didn't break. He closed his eyes. Then whispered. I've seen darkness before, but I've also seen sunrise. With that thought, the illusions shattered. Light burst across the void. Michael stood tall again. Valetha's voice trembled. Test 2, passed. Test 3, heart. The room changed one last time. Michael appeared in front of a small crying alien child, shaking, afraid, trapped behind energy bars. A voice echoed. Final test. Will you protect another life? Or will you walk away? Michael didn't hesitate. He walked to the cage and knelt beside the child. Hey. You're okay. I'm here. The child sobbed. It hurts, please. Michael placed a hand on the glowing energy prison, even though the energy burned him. Smoke rose from his skin. He didn't pull back. Instead, he whispered softly. You're not alone. I won't leave you. The council watched, completely silent. Michael pushed harder. The energy sliced deeper. Pain shook his body. But his expression never turned angry, only determined. Then, with one final push, the cage shattered. Michael lifted the child gently. The illusion faded. He was back in the chamber, holding nothing. But the council saw everything. The reaction. Zorlith stood slowly. Not with pride. Not with dominance. But with respect. Human Michael Carter. He paused, as if choosing every word carefully. You are not a threat because you are strong. He stepped down from his throne. You are a threat because you care. Michael blinked. Confused. Maybe emotional. Before he could speak, every alien in the room lowered their head. A universal sign of acknowledgement. Respect. And fear. The declaration. Zorlith raised his voice. Let the galaxy record this day. A human faced fear, chaos, and pain. And chose courage, clarity, and compassion. He turned toward the chamber's ancient recording system. Our decision is clear. The room held its breath. Humans are not prey. Lights flared. Energy surged. Humans are not weak. Screens glowed. Symbols spun across walls. Then, with a thunderous final decree. Humans are a Deathworld species. Silence. Then shock. Then realization. Because that title meant only one thing. Warning, humans were now considered one of the most dangerous life forms in the galaxy. Warning. And yet, Michael simply asked. So, does that mean we're cool now? Half the council nearly fainted. The chamber lights returned to full brightness, revealing every crack in the stone, every symbol glowing with ancient power. The air hummed like a storm trapped in metal. Michael stood in the center, breathing steadily, not tired, not shaken, just present. The Council of Deadly Species, the rulers of war, poison, storms, and survival, sat in silent awe. The trial was complete. The decision remained. Zorlith stepped forward, his massive shadow stretching across the floor. Human Michael Carter, the council must now vote. Michael folded his arms casually. Okay. Do I sit or stand? Solari answered gently. Stand. It shows strength, even if you fall. Michael nodded. And waited. The vote begins. A large ring of holographic screens appeared above the council, one for every species present. Symbols glowed. Red, enemy. Blue, unknown. White, ally. Zorlith raised his claw. Council, cast your vote. Is humanity a threat? Or a future ally? Silence. Then one panel flickered. A reptile species, the warriors, selected white, ally. Gasps filled the chamber. They were the last species expected to respect humans. But the general bowed his head and declared. Anyone who stands fearless in battle is worthy of respect. A second vote changed. A poison-based species, one that feared almost nothing, also selected white. Then a third. Then a fourth. Soon, most of the council glowed white. But not all. Two symbols remained dark. The unexpected objection. A deep vibrating voice echoed from the shadows. It belonged to the Thrancor Collective, a species that lived in swarm mines and calculated danger with terrifying accuracy. Their vote lit up red. Enemy. The room stiffened. Michael's expression shifted, serious for the first time. Valeth whispered. The Thrancor never make emotional decisions. If they vote red, they see something coming. Solari spoke softly to Michael. Do not react. They challenge everything that scares them. But the Thrancor did not stop at a vote. Their central speaker floated forward, a mass of shifting metallic insects that formed a humanoid shape. Human. Your species is unpredictable. Your mind adapts too fast. Your heart pushes you into danger without logic. The speaker paused. Then with chilling simplicity. A species like yours does not remain peaceful. Michael frowned. Are you calling us dangerous? The Thrancor voice buzzed. We call you, inevitable. That word struck the council like lightning. Inevitable. Uncontrolled. Unstoppable. Before anyone could respond, the final undecided species cast their vote. Their panel glowed blue, unknown. The council leader lowered his head. Then the result is decided. The verdict. Zorlith stepped closer to Michael, not threatening, but solemn. Humanity shall not be judged as enemy, nor ally. The chamber lights pulsed like a heartbeat. Humans are now classified as independent tier Deathworld species. Michael blinked. Meaning. Solari explained. Meaning no species may conquer you. No empire may claim you. And no council may order you. Valeth added. But it also means, if humans become hostile, every species has permission to defend themselves. Michael nodded slowly. Fair enough. Zorlith extended a clawed hand. Not in threat. But in respect. Michael shook it, gently. The council exhaled, a quiet, collective release of tension. The decision was made. The escape, or the exit. The chamber doors opened with a deep rumble. A glowing portal formed, a gate back to Earth. Solari approached Michael softly. Human, before you leave, take this. She handed him a small crystal sphere. It pulsed with soft golden light. This is a galactic beacon. If humanity faces danger, or wishes to speak with the council, activate it. Michael smiled warmly. Thank you. He turned toward the portal. But just before stepping through, he paused. Then spoke without turning around. There's something I want you all to remember. Every alien froze. Michael's voice was calm. Not threatening. Not proud. Just true. Humans don't seek war. But we don't run from it either. He lifted his chin slightly. If anyone attacks Earth, we won't fight alone. A quiet confusion spread. Michael continued. We fight with our families, our friends, our memories, and our dead. That line hit harder than any weapon. Because death did not stop humans. It motivated them. Michael walked into the portal. It began to close. But right before disappearing, he gave one last small grin. And next time. He tapped his lunchbox. I'll bring extra peppers. The portal vanished. Silence hung heavy. No one spoke. No one moved. Then, in one sudden moment, the entire Deathworld Council stood. Not in fear. Not in panic. But in agreement. Zorlith murmured the words that would become legend. Pray the humans stay peaceful. Solari finished in a whisper. B.